Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Ian's Display Accessories, the best figure stands for retro and modern G.I. Joe and Star Wars action figures, as well as TGC customs. Get custom 3D printed weapons for your 6-inch scales that represent or mimic the original Generation 1 line. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New to Vero 2. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu Are You. Today we're going to take a quick look at another recent GIJoe Classifieds offering, and that would be Dusty. Now, Dusty originally came out in the amazing all-star year of 1985. Now, his figure is particularly interesting because originally Dusty's real name was Ron Tater. That's his code name or his real name. And that's paying homage to Hasbro chief designer Ron Rudat, who's pretty much the guy who is responsible for all the iconic action figure designs from that amazing vintage run. The other important thing is Ron is responsible for creating that iconic Cobra emblem. He has the original one proudly displayed at his house. Now, what's interesting about this figure, and what kind of has me not too happy about it, is if we saw with all the other classifieds with Outback and Bazooka, they all have their real names, or even Beachhead, they all have their real names on, but they didn't put Dusty's Ron Tater's on it. So that's kind of a slap in the face to the guy who's responsible for all these wicked, awesome designs. And I'm sorry, Emily, but that's not right. I'm gonna get that right out of the way. Not having that name there is disrespect to the guy responsible for designing all of these iconic figures and the person that is paying your paycheck right now. So they should have put that file name on here. And I just wanted to say that because that's not right. But nonetheless, Dusty is a much beloved and iconic character. Oh, in the background, I found Resident Evil codename Veronica. So I'm going to have that in the background. And it's going to be a scary night as I play that later on. And I know for my regulars that have liked the late night edition where I take a iconic or old retro game and play it on a CRT old school set, we're going to get back into doing that as well. So I know that's been a big hit with a lot of people because it's kind of like, back in the day when you used to go to your friend's house and you guys were sitting around in front of the Sony Trinitron playing your retro game. So I kind of wanted to capture that feeling a little bit. So that's why I decided to do that. But we're going to get back to doing that. But before we do, let's take a look at Dusty. And we're going to look at his version 1, his Tiger Force, as well as his Classified. So let's get going. Alrighty, so here we go. And this is Dusty from the Classifieds line. So this is part of the latest wave that included Dusty, Zorana, and the Crimson Guard. We're going to do a little bit longer, more in-depth with the Crimson Guard because there's a lot of comic lore surrounding the Crimson Guard, and I think it's worthwhile to take the time to make that video. But let's just do a quick look. And again, like I said, just look at all the other G.I. Joe characters, and they included their classified name, but just Dusty. And again, that's not cool, Hasbro. Emily. So we all know, my regulars know my beef with Emily, but anyway. Let's take a look at the box art, and this is kind of interesting. It's just very subdued. It's kind of like his camouflage is just kind of like amplifying that his camouflage is to blend in with the desert surroundings, and that's what he does. And I saw a couple of other people, these bandwagon jumpers, toy guys that have been posting videos, but all of them failed to mention about the Ron Rudat missing thing. But that's why you come here, because as real G.I. Joe fans, we give you the in-depth, all the tidbits that would otherwise be push underneath the rug. So let's open this figure and take a better look at it. Now, before I do, there's a few things I wanted to make note of. And since I'm more known for comic lore than toy reviews, what's interesting is that how unique Dusty is. And that Havelock cloth that he's wearing is something that Ron incorporated because he's an actual Civil War reenactor at the time. And he thought that would be a good aesthetic for the figure. The overall look on his uniform are designs that the military actually showed to Hasbro, and the helmet is actually what soldiers wear today. And he, like Snowjob, are one of the first two figures that were designed for a specific environment. So here we have Dusty all with his accessories, and everyone remembers for the original one, the first thing right off the bat is his stand for his gun. And this thing is one of the most often lost accessories in the retro line, is losing that freaking stand for his gun. That's been a pain in the butt for collectors for years. But we have his two sets of goggles. We have his magazine clip, his field knife, and as well his iconic helmet, which doesn't have a cloth. Remember, I'll show you when we look at the original one, but this is more of a lighter, thinner plastic as his covering. So, they could have put the cloth on that. I wish I had seen that they incorporated that with this figure. So let's put him together. Alrighty, so here we have Dusty on all of his glory. And I stand corrected. They did put Tater right there. I mean, a little word, so that's the only acknowledgement that of Ron Rudat right there. Just that little name tag right there for Dusty. But let's take a look at the figure and let's squash all of that right now. And right off the bat, this is again a good homage to a desert type of trooper. The camo is good, and actually he came with an extra set of goggles. But I think just the one that you want him to look as close to his original figure as possible, and just too many goggles I think is an overkill in that aspect. But here we have his original figure. So there is the 1985 Dusty, and you could see that again. This, like we've been saying with all the other recent classifieds, these recent wave of classifieds, a very good modern representation of their 3 3/4 inch figure. They did a good job on this one as well, and I really like it. The boots are nice. The boots are brown, where in this one they're black, so that's a little bit of a difference. But all in all, this is a beautiful figure. I think they did a good job with this. This is going to be a hit with the fan base, and you could spin the original Dusty around. This backpack is a little bit darker, but those two canteens in the back. So a little bit of a difference there. But then again, you got to have, and again, the cloth isn't there. So that's a big letdown. I wish that there was this, because you see the original Dusty has that cloth. And even with here we have his Tiger Force. And I know my regulars have seen me do the recent episodes featuring the Tiger Force characters. Dusty's been hanging out in the background during those episodes just because I was waiting to bring him out for this one. But again, I like this figure as well. I was talking about how I'm not a big fan of these little subunits, but for Tiger Force, I love Tiger Force a lot. Night Force would be another one, but that's just kind of cliche. And with Night Force's prices through the roof, I don't have any Night Force figures, and I never will. I'm not going to spend that ridiculous amount of money on Night Force figures. It's just not worth it to me. But this Dusty is really well done. The other interesting thing about Dusty is he's one of the few characters that has not just one, but two Sunbow episodes dedicated where he's the main featured character in it. And in November of 1985, The Traitor Part 1 and Part 2 is where Dusty really shined. And those were episodes where he goes to, like, Cobra is so evil. They find out that his mother, or I think grandmother, is sick. And they're like, hey, why don't you join Cobra? We'll take care of all of the expenses. Like, you don't have to worry about it. Just give us some information. And there is a moral dilemma. But and Dusty goes through absolute hell in that episode. I mean, the poor dude, I mean, between both Cobra and G.I. Joe, and the only other person that was in on it was Duke the entire time. And there were times where Duke could have intervened and cut Dusty some slack or whatever, but no, he kind of pulled a Hawk on that one. That's a typical Hawk move. That if you guys are a fan of the comics, you would know exactly that Hawk can be a downright dick, and that was like a Hawk move that Duke did in that episode. But anyway, this is a wonderful figure. I think they did a great job, and I highly recommend this. I mean, there's not more to say. I see that there's going to be, unlike his original figure, I think that this will probably be easily lost. So far, this stand for his gun seems to be securely in place, unlike you see my versions where both are missing. But again, it's a really nice job. This is a great figure. And now that they no longer are trying to incorporate that failed video game, and now they could do this, you see that the results are simply breathtaking. And again, I don't think I've been promoting TDC Customs. I don't think there's much you could do to improve this figure. I think they nailed this one, head on. I like that gun too. That's a nice gun. So all in all, I'm gonna give Dusty 2 thumbs up. Anyway, this is Shabu RU. Thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time. Oh, before I leave, I should ask if anybody has comments about the Dreamcast Resident Evil Code Veronica. Please let me know what you guys think of this game. I haven't played it in the longest time. I forgot most of it. So, I remember some bad things about the video game. Let me turn around right here. But if anybody has any comments about this game, let me know before I embark on this journey tonight. Anyway, this is Shabu RU. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.